Hey, I'm Heidi McGill, and if we haven't formally been introduced, then, well, welcome to my home. It is raining and thundering outside, but you know what? That is just par for the course for life. We can't always plan what we're going to do. In fact, most of my life is unplanned. So, unlike a lot of authors, I don't just get up in the morning and have all those creative juices flowing, start writing, and by noon I am just putting my pen away thinking I've done what I need to do for the day. In my household, I am not an awake person in the morning. I just don't have that creativity flowing. And so I spend my mornings with household duties such as cleaning, prepping meals, all the things, laundry, you get the idea. And then I get right into about 10 o'clock. I'm usually at my desk and I am spending time with all of my administrative duties. So that might include prepping Facebook posts, responding to Facebook posts, writing a blog, a newsletter, um, communicating with other authors, doing swaps so that we can promote each other's books and support each other. Lots of little duties. But then there's always the writing part, and that's my favorite part. In fact, I've just finished Written on My Heart. It's book 5 in my series. And from start to finish, this book took me a year to create, to edit. It went through a couple edits. So let me just tell you a little bit about that real fast. So after I write a book, I read it myself and I go through as many edits as I can, getting it as clean as I can. And then I send it to a developmental editor. I use a young lady, Isabella Skellinger, and she takes my book and she reads it and she finds all the places where she feels my book could be improved. Not grammar, proofreading, that's not what she's doing. She's looking at it from the big picture. So, you told me in the beginning, she'll say that this person's eyes were blue and now you just said they were green. We've got a disconnect. How did that person get from here to here? Why was that person on a horse in this scene, but now they're walking and the horse along? And so she catches all of those kind of details and she sends them back to me, and then it's a rewrite for me. So I have to go through the entire book again, make sure that everything is cohesive, things that I missed. She does catch things, word choices that might throw a person out of the story. She also catches when I reuse a word too often, and I have done that a lot. I get a word in my brain and then I just seem to fixate on it, and it is in every chapter or every paragraph, as it may go seem. So then Isabel, when she's done her part, I've made my changes. Then I read through it again. I also send it through a program called Pro Writing Aid that catches a good bit, but you also have to be very careful because it doesn't always line up with what you need. Sometimes things just don't make sense. You meant for a word to be there, or you meant for a sentence to be clipped and incorrect grammar. So then it goes to a first line editor. Her name is Kathy McKenzie, and she is blind. And she does this by listening to my story. And she catches all of the little things that I didn't, because our eyes trick us. Well, first of all, I've read this book so many times at this point that I miss things. She catches the double V's. She catches when I've used the word shudder instead of shutter, um, or undulate instead of undulate. She catches all of those kinds of errors. She also catches where she struggles to figure out who is talking. And so she might make a note to say, you need to put an identifier here. So it might say he said or she said. Little things like that. She's very good at catching. She also catches when I've used a phrase over and over. I might start a sentence, 3 sentences in one paragraph with the word I, and she catches that because it sounds awkward to her ear. So when Kathy sends that back to me, I make edits again and read the book again. When I am ready for the next edits, this one goes off and it takes at least 2, sometimes 4 weeks, and Claire Kohler is my uh, final editor proofreader, and she catches every grammatical error that she can find. when she sends that back to me, guess what? Once again, I have to edit again. And I am usually the one to make the errors when I am doing those edits. So after my book has been through her and I have made the edits, then I send it to a beta reader. A beta reader is someone who is a first line of defense, and she catches many things. I have been known to send it to a beta reader before my final editor, and I do find that to be helpful. At the very end, I am sending it to my ARC team. An ARC stands for Advanced Reader Copy. And I will send an electronic copy to a group of ladies or men who have agreed not only to read my books, the specific book that we're working on, but they also have agreed to help me promote it. And this is key. These people are truly my friends. They are supporting me and a part of this ministry. It is a huge, huge deal to me. My ARC readers are fabulous, and they find the little tiny errors that usually I made when I was making the final edits, but they do catch a couple that the editor missed. That always happens. It's why they are so important. So for this book, Written on My Heart, I had 30 ARC readers. I think I had 30 ARC readers. And they did find things, and they were great. One person said, "Is this really what you meant?" And I thought, you know what? It's not. That isn't what I meant. That wasn't the best word choice. And so they really did make a difference, because it could have pulled a reader out of a story. I'll give you an example. So in this story, Betsy's father, he is an alcoholic, and he is a gambler, and he has just wasted all of their funds. And now she is trying to support this family on her school salary. She's a teacher. So using the wording of the day, I said he piddled away the funds. And one of my ARC readers came back to me and she said, "That's a great word, but I'm a contemporary reader, and that word means like peeing your pants." And I thought, you know what, that is so true. That probably isn't the word I should use. So I changed it to he frittered away. And then another person said, "Well, I hope I'm not hungry when I read this book, because it makes me think of food." So can't make everybody happy. But it is something that is important, that you stay within the voice of your time frame. And since these books are written in the late 1870s, that's pretty important. And so if you're willing, I'd love to read the first chapter with you, partly because I love this story. I love the character of Gabe. He is just one of my favorites through this Discerning God's Best series. And if you haven't read the series, you do not have to read them in order. It is helpful to do that, because you get to see the characters grow, especially someone like Gabe. We've watched him from this child where he was considered Little Son, which is his Arapaho name, through his conversion into faith, where he takes on the name of Gabriel because he sees an angel, through to where he's ready to go to college and then finds out that he can't, and he has to work in the role of mines. And now he has come full circle, and he is the deputy of Shumard Bend, and I'd like to read you that story. So give me just a minute. And just to let you know, I am nothing like my narrator, Amy Lilly. So if you enjoy a really seriously good narrator, you can listen to Desire of My Heart and Written on My Heart, which she has already done, and they're up on YouTube. And then the prequel to this story is also in audiobook format, but the only way that you can get that is when you subscribe to my newsletter, and that's at HeidiGrayMcGill.com. And when you look at the tabs at the top of my website, you will see one that says free book. If you'll click right there, click one more time, fill out your name and address, make sure your address is correct, your email address. Then I'll give you a free code, an exclusive code that will help you get that download. And you can download it in either ebook or audiobook format. All right, here we go. Shumard Bend, Missouri, July 1875. The gunmetal gray in his hands mirrored the sky, unyielding and unforgiving. Flies swarmed the fresh horse patty next to Gabe, keeping the insects from his eyes. Grass and weeds blew in the damp Missouri wind as he crept with familiar Indian footing, crouched, then stilled. Rain would be a welcome challenge from the dry summer dust filling his nostrils. He tracked what he expected was the Iron Horse Bandits for 2 days, following them to their hideout, if one could call it that. A lean-to of broken limbs and dried brush that had been anything but hidden amongst the lush forest undergrowth. 3 horses grazed in the open to his right, one giving the side-eye occasionally, but then settling in for seemingly coming to grips with the idea that the figure in the grass would not harm them. The valley's wind-brushed blades had begun to show hints of brown from the lack of rain, while a dark stand of oak and hickory trees loomed like sentinels on watch. Beyond them, a swell of the hill rose steadily and dipped into the wide valley where the fading light of day painted everything in muted hues. Brown feathers lifted into the air. What animal was competing for this hiding place in the brush? A chipmunk skittered to a halt a breath away and eyed him suspiciously before chittering and scampering up the cottonwood above him, its leaves glowing gold like bright candles against the fading backdrop. Gabe instinctively absorbed every detail around him. The faint buzz of flies, the steady crunch of horses grazing, the soft rustle of birds and the gentle flow of water whispered of tranquility, but the rhythmic snores of the sleeping men told a different story. He may no longer go by little son, but the generations of wisdom passed down to him were as alive as ever, guiding his every step as he tracked his prey. The earth spoke to him in ways only he could understand, revealing secrets hidden beneath the surface. That's just a small portion of Written on My Heart. This book talks about the story of Gabe and of Betsy, and both of these individuals have a strong foundation of faith, but it is tested through what they have to go through in this story. I genuinely enjoyed writing it, and I really hope you enjoy reading it. I would love to connect with you, and the best way to do that is through my newsletter. You get to see a personal side of me, and it's where you're going to find out about all the information about my books and then when I have any sales. But if you want to know a little bit more about my heart, I have a devotional style blog that I post every 2 weeks. It is not often and they are short, but you can also find that up under the blog tab on my website, which is HeidiGrayMcGill.com. And then, of course, thank you very much for listening and watching today on YouTube. As a courtesy, would you consider subscribing? That always helps me, and it keeps you in the loop of what's coming up, and there is another book on its way. But if you would also comment, what that does is that just helps the algorithm. It helps really what it does is it keeps the bots fed. That's what I keep saying. But what that does is then if it says if you liked this, then it's going to know that maybe someone else who is similar to you might like it as well, and that algorithm will show this to someone else. And so by liking and commenting, you really are making a difference. Those are small acts of kindness, just like you would never consider reading a book and then not leaving a review. It's the same concept. So especially if you listen to a book on tape, or, oh my gosh, did I ever just show my age? If you listen to a book on audio through YouTube, it is always courteous to leave a comment or a review in the comment section. Thanks for being with me today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.